Today's Lunch with Haley event is our show and tell webinar where we're going to show and tell some of our favorite projects from 2022. So you can see a bunch of smiling faces on screen. Smile, everyone. And we actually have 7 of us here today to walk you through some of the things that we've been up to this year. So in terms of projects, what are we going to talk about? Well, we've got a lot of ground to cover and we're going to go fast. So we're going to take a look at a few examples of staffing websites. We're going to go through a few different projects in digital marketing. We're going to talk about a few examples in our recruitment marketing area. We're going to take a look at automation. We're going to look at branded content and a couple of the different products that we offer in branded content, what we've done with them for clients this year. And then we're going to wrap up looking at something that's probably becoming more relevant for everybody, helping salespeople be more productive. We're going to look at direct marketing and some of our creative services. All right, so that's the agenda. Let's get started. We're going to jump in with staffing websites. Now, as some of you may know, some of you may not know, when it comes to website development, we try to have a one-size-for-all approach, not one-size-fits-all. We actually have 3 different types of staffing websites that we develop: value sites, starter sites, and custom sites. And we're going to jump over and take a look at a couple of examples of starter sites and custom sites. We're going to look at 4 specific clients, 2 starters, and those are websites where we have a design library that we use as the foundation, but then we do a lot of customization, as you will see, to make each one of these sites really unique to our clients. And then we'll take a look at a couple of examples of custom websites. And these are where we literally start from scratch, designing everything from the ground up for our clients. So Kelly, I'm going to turn it over to you, I'm going to stop my sharing so you can start yours, and we will take a look at these examples.
Great. Just confirm, can everybody see my screen?
We look good.
Great, thanks, David. So as David said, we customize our starter sites, and it's very difficult to narrow it down every year to the sites that we like the best, because to date we've done 88 sites and we currently have 68 in process. But these 4 are great examples of some of the features that we incorporate and customize. The first one, American Medical Staffing. I'm actually going to refresh my screen so you can see the animation that appears as you first come to a website. This particular company was merging 4 companies into one. We customized the starter site. You'll see that we have the new branding, and then the other companies here. We've got the feature of a YouTube video on the homepage. And as we scroll through, items and elements animate onto the page, sliding on and off. I love this way of showing testimonials. It's a very unique way. We've also got some animated statistics as you scroll over items, and then a pop-up that reminds you that, hey, if you think you're in the wrong place, you're actually in the right place in all 3 companies that they are merging with. Additionally, First Staffing, this is actually the 2nd site I think that we've done for First.
That's hard to say.
I was going to say that 5 times fast. You'll see this was a great example of customizing a starter site to their particular, just their offices, their location. These are very unique and personalized images directly to them. As you scroll through, again, features and elements are animating onto the page. They've got the great look of their offices here, and their personality really stands out, as do their locations. We've got some SEO optimized location pages, and each one of these shows their buildings, literally. And as you scroll through here, you can see you can hit each one of their areas of expertise. Additionally, I just wanted to show they do have the Haley Marketing job board, and you can search. This was another one. They were looking for a fresher look, something that was mobile friendly, and that made it really easy for people to apply. And to sort of fake the mobile look, I'll just do that. And so if somebody comes here from the screen, from your mobile device, that's what it looks like. Wood Personnel, actually, this is the third website that we've done for them in the past few years, and they're always fun to work with. They always like to push the envelope a little. While there was nothing wrong with their last website from a design standpoint, it didn't really speak to who they were. They were shifting focus from a divisional focus to more of a candidate client, and specifically wanted to talk to candidates. So they've got a strong candidate message here. Again, I'm going to refresh my screen, you'll see as elements scroll onto the page. We've used very clean look icons throughout the site, and they also are very localized. So they do have location pages for each one of their locations, and those pages have specific imagery and messaging for those locations. Again, Haley Marketing Job Board, and it's very, very candidate focused. Very clean look to this particular site. And then the final one, Actello, again, custom site, we put pen to paper. This has to be one of my favorite ones that we've done this year. And I'm going to go ahead. This one actually doesn't have as much animation to it, but you'll see that we've used the client logo and branding and this circular look that was developed in their logo throughout the site, throughout watermarks. We created imagery and circles used throughout the site to just reference and kind of play with their branding a little bit. They also wanted to be candidate focused. They wanted to show how they were candidate centric. Additionally, more watermarks. But they also wanted to focus on the fact that they are specifically creative marketing information technology. So those are their specialties, and that's all they specialize in. They also have the Haley Marketing Job Board here, and they've got, I actually believe they are blogging with us now too. So we've got some branded content for the blogs and branded imagery on the blog pages. And that's what I've got for those four.
Thanks, Kelly. But before we come back and move on, just one of the
Yes.
things that a lot of people may be hearing about, we've started to talk about it, and it's built into most of these sites, is something called conversion rate optimization, or CRO. And what that is thinking about how to design web pages in a way to drive response. And particularly for the first example, when you had American Medical Staffing up, I noticed that some of the ways that you help drive CRO videos to explain things, very clear calls to action, clear labels on the calls to action, social proof. This was really evident throughout their whole website, so that you're not losing people who don't know what to do next. The average staffing website has a 60% bounce rate, meaning 60% of the people you paid to get to your website, they leave without taking an action. And so as we're moving forward in how we build websites, we're actually starting to change how we build. We're changing how we write content to be even more focused on optimizing that response. So keep watching next year's show and tell. We'll have lots more CRO options. And before we're done today, there's actually an offer to have us take a look at your current site and tell you where you may be able to improve. And even if we recently did your website, from a CRO perspective, there's always ideas on how to tweak those copies, those call to action, to get even more response. All right, let's
great
ahead,
point. Oh, I was going to say, great point, David. I did fail to mention that our starter sites have a lot of those clear calls to action built into them. And then when we begin a custom site, we talk specifically about what is the action you want your audiences to take before we even come up with a design or wireframe. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share. Back to you.
Thank you. And I will bring our PowerPoint back up, and there we go. All right. So thank you very much for the overview of websites. We're going to be moving on now to digital marketing. And digital marketing is a range of services. It's not one thing. It's content writing, blogging. It's social media management, social pro, search engine optimization, pay-per-click advertising, reputation management, and more. Now today, because we only have an hour, we're going to just touch on a highlight of few of these services. And we're going to start with one of our most comprehensive services, Social Pro, which is a form of managed social media. And what we mean by that is we're helping think through the content strategy. We're thinking through the monthly content calendar. We're thinking through creating consistent sharing throughout the week with, again, that CRO thought process. It's not just website. How are we optimizing response from your social media, whether it's direct response within the social channels or getting people back to your website to respond? So we're going to take a look at a couple of case studies here. And Taylor, I'm going to let you take over and walk us through a couple of examples.
Awesome. Thanks, David. So here's a look at one of our Social Pro clients who serves the land surveying industry, and prior to working with Haley had little to no social media presence. This client's goals were to expand their social reach and brand awareness, position themselves as thought leaders, and increase candidate traffic and applications. So our approach was to create a social media content strategy based on job board posts to bring more awareness to the types of jobs they fill, general company posts to boost their brand awareness, and outside career content posts to help position them as thought leaders within their industry. This resulted in major website performance results with increases in both their Facebook and LinkedIn followers, as well as increases in sessions, new users, and page views on their website.
And you can see it, some people wonder, does social media really have an impact? And the percentage increase in traffic to their website was very significant, going from a non-existent social media presence to actually having a consistent social media presence. All right, let's take a look at another example.
All right, so here's a look at an example of a client who is also looking to reach a greater audience to promote not only their staffing and recruiting services, but the business solutions they provide. This client was also looking to create cohesive messaging, build branding, and highlight their differentiators and services. So to accomplish their goals, we created a consistent social media posting schedule, created a new Facebook page, and updated their existing LinkedIn and Twitter pages. This resulted in their new Facebook page reaching nearly 85,000 individuals and gaining over 200 followers, as well as their LinkedIn page reaching almost 30,000 followers.
Awesome. Thanks, Taylor. And we're now going to transition to another type of digital marketing, which is pay-per-click advertising. So when it comes to pay-per-click or PPC, we have a couple of different types of campaigns that we offer. One called online visibility, which, as the name implies, is really about getting your name in front of your target audience to build your brand, to convey the right message about your firm. We also have a program called web traffic, which is designed to get people not just to know who you are and what you do, but get them to visit your website. And then for some of our clients, they want to do even more. So we develop custom campaigns. So Aaron, you want to give us an overview of a couple of case studies around what we're doing in PPC?
Yeah, thanks, David. So we had a nationwide staffing franchise client with an office in Hartford, Connecticut. Their challenge was that the firm had a higher star rating on Google than their competitors, but they couldn't be found without a lot of scrolling on Google Maps. Gaining a good organic position in the Maps listing can be very difficult to achieve, and this client wanted to be seen above their local competition. So this brought us to the Google Local Ads solution, and this is one of our newest online visibility products. With these ads, we maximize the value of your Google My Business location and encourage key actions. Local ads can be shown on Google Search, Google Maps, YouTube, and Google Display, thus maximizing the firm's reach to promote your location. Plus, with the added benefit of a promoted pin on Google Maps, a more prominent position in those local listings. Local ads drive a lot of visibility and local actions. We see increases in phone calls and actions that indicate foot traffic, like request driving directions and view location information, making this product ideal if you're looking to get your phones ringing more often or want candidates to come in and apply in person. The ads capture the user interest and direct the traffic either back to your Google My Business listing or landing page on your website. This campaign works well for both candidate and client audiences and is a good fit for almost every staffing agency, whether you have a new location to promote or just need to drive more visibility and actions over your competition. And you can see the results from the first 5 months. They're very impressive, especially with increasing our phone calls of 2 to 3 phone calls a day over the previous 5 months. Let's take a look at another great PPC example, David. So our Facebook web traffic example is a family-owned staffing company with multiple locations in Kentucky. They recruit light industrial, manufacturing, as well as office and administrative candidates. This client specifically wanted to run targeted ads outside of the job boards to foster relationships with local local candidates. These web traffic Facebook ads increased traffic to the career portal and social media engagement over a 6-month time period. We not only increased this client's visibility on Facebook by putting their ad in front of more job seekers, but we also drove over 5,000 clicks back to the Facebook page and the career portal. This Facebook ad campaign was the 5th largest source of traffic back to the website and career portal. And those users spent on average over a minute engaging with candidate pages and 40% of the users were viewing individual job listings. Ultimately, over this time period, we saw big increases in candidates taking action to begin that application process. Back to you, David.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Before we move on to our next example, I just kind of want to talk about this one for another second, which is, I'm going to repeat, you heard CRO when it's the website. We had CRO talking about social media, and you're seeing it again in PPC, CRO, conversion rate optimization. In order for your website to convert, people have to find your website and spend time on your website. And as Aaron just highlighted, not only did this drive a lot of people to the People Plus website, but those people spent longer on average than a typical visitor. And 1 minute may not sound like a lot, but if you think about how you scroll through web pages, usually if you're not interested in something, you're away from that website in less than 30 seconds, often less than 15 seconds. So that average duration of time increasing shows we're getting people to look at the site and to stick around a little bit longer. And the more people spend time on your website, the more likely they are to apply to a job, to opt in for a job alert, to contact you about staffing services. All right, so we've talked about social media. We've talked about pay-per-click advertising. Let's talk about search engine optimization. So when we're talking about SEO, we're thinking about how to help your company get found. And most companies want to get found when someone's searching their name. But more importantly, when they're searching for staffing companies in a specific geographic market, or more broadly, get found when the people you want to place, the companies you want to work with, have an intent of trying to find a better job, have an intent of trying to improve their lives, having an intent of hiring. And SEO is about thinking through what is that intent, and then optimizing web pages, optimizing existing content, creating targeted content pages around locations, specialties, writing long form content around the kinds of questions people are asking in order to drive more people from the searches they're doing on Google to your website. So Emma, want to give us an example of a case study here?
Yes, thank you. So for my client, Premium Transport Staffing, they are a truck driver staffing agency that provides services nationally, and they have headquarters in California. So the goal of their SEO campaign was to increase organic web traffic, page rankings on Google, specifically from California right now, since that's where they do the majority of their business. So in order to accomplish this, we did use a targeted keyword strategy that involved a lot of competitive research and analysis to determine which keywords we should be using. And then once the relevant keywords were narrowed down, we incorporated them naturally through the addition, like you said, of content on each of the pages, and we created pages where necessary. So for example, in order to improve the geographic rankings for California, we created a locations page specific to targeting that region. And the result of this kind of content focused strategy was that we drove the organic traffic up over 90% year over year, and the traffic to the homepage specifically increased over 50%. The click-through rate, so the amount of times that people were clicking on the site over the impressions, that increased as well, and the average ranking of their site improved over 20 positions on Google. And then I'm indicated on the left picture there, that is the location page that we created for California, and that's ranking at almost the top of the page when users type in truck driver staffing agency in California. So that was a good targeted strategy that ended up working for increasing the visibility in California.
Awesome. Thanks, Emma. And one of the things we're going to talk about here, we're about to talk a little bit about recruitment marketing, and everybody's thinking about, well, how do I fill my open job orders? And how do I avoid just writing bigger and bigger checks to the various job board companies? And one of the ways you do that is you show up in search results. And it's not just about buying truck driver jobs or truck driver staffing in California. With an SEO strategy, as you can see here, you can get your site ranked at or near the top of Google results for people looking for companies that do what you do. And that will drive, typically you'll see more candidates than clients, but particularly for recruiting, SEO is a great strategy if you're providing content that's really relevant to what the audience wants. Now, of course, as I said, that's just one way to recruit. So Matt, we're going to get into recruitment marketing right now. And when we talk about recruitment marketing, we often refer to the 4 pillars of recruitment marketing: your career site and making sure you're maximizing response, some of that CRO stuff that we talked about with Kelly in the beginning; job advertising, that's going to go into do a deep dive on that; social recruiting, which is where recruitment marketing crosses over with digital marketing using content blogging, SEO, PPC to attract the right candidates to your website; and having the right employment brand, which is essentially giving candidates a really strong reason to prefer your company over another staffing agency or even over direct employers. Employment branding is about answering that question: why should someone choose you? But Matt, we know when it comes to recruitment marketing, the lion's share of staffing companies' overall marketing investment, not just recruitment, is in job advertising. So let's help them get some more ROI.
Yeah, thanks, David. We're going to walk through 3 examples today. We work with 50-ish clients on the job advertising side, where we manage their job spend, millions of dollars of spend throughout the year. And our first example here is where we just made one data-driven decision, and it helps this client get 50% more applications. The company, a general staffing, light industrial, clerical company in a couple different states throughout the country, California and Michigan mainly. And in the first month, we can see some interesting stats here. The job board A has the bulk of the budget, $1,800 a month, but job board B is performing better in terms of a cost per application. It's the cost per application 73% lower when we look at, what's it cost to get someone to apply for the job. But job board A is getting, 2/3 of the budget. And when someone's looking at just these metrics, you would say, okay, let's put more money, just into job board B. But we need to confirm that with the client. And they did confirm that with us. They said, job board B is performing really well, probably equal to a little bit better than job board A. So in the second month, we reallocated some of that money. As you can see, went from $900 to $1,600 in job board B, and the cost per application stayed really consistent. What's also interesting is over on the left side there, the results from job board A actually improved. So we were able to consult with the client, and by the end of the month, the budget went up a little bit, 8%, nothing crazy, but they received 50% more applications, all from one, looking at your metrics on the cost level, but also talking to the company and seeing, okay, what's working really well? Job board B is less than $2 an application. Is the quality coming through? And if the quality is coming through, that helps you make that best data-driven decision to reallocate your money and make sure you're getting the most out of that monthly budget in what's been obviously a hyper competitive recruitment industry right now. So I think that's a really cool example here for the first one. As we jump over to the second slide here, it's looking at where you have to be really active with your numbers and knowing what's going on. So for a company here, industrial staffing agency over in Northeast Ohio, had some nice results in January and February, but then the beginning of March came, and for whatever reason, their cost per click went up a lot, went up 55, 60%. Their cost per application naturally went up the same. But what's really interesting is the conversion rate stayed the same. You can see in that column. And by conversion rate, I mean percentage of clicks that lead to an application. The job board reached out to this company and said, hey, you need to increase your budget because your application cost is going up. You're receiving 10 fewer applications per day. You need to spend more money. And our team looked at the data and actually said the exact opposite. We said, you need to spend less. for whatever reason, the beginning of March compared to January and February in your market, in your industry, there's just fewer people searching for jobs. Their budget was just not going as far. So their cost per click was going up, and that was leading to the decrease in applications. So we decreased their budget. We actually reduced it for the rest of the month. You can see the daily spend went down, but then the cost per click went down. The cost per application went down. Conversion rate's pretty consistent. They received more applications per day in the last 2/3 of March compared to the beginning of March, compared to January and February. And by the end of the month, you can see the March total, their cost per application for the entire month of March, because of being really hyper active with adjusting the data, knowing what's going on in the market, or at least being able to read the data to know what's going on in the market. The results in March are actually better than January and February, because you just had to kind of read the data and know what the combination of higher cost per click, consistent conversion rate means. It doesn't mean more money. It means spend smarter. And that's what we really like to do with this programmatic job advertising management. And then lastly, our third example here is one of our newer case studies over on the Recruitment Marketers website. You can head over and click on case studies there, but it's talking about keeping jobs fresh. And this is a constant question we hear in the industry. It's how often should I refresh my jobs? How, do older jobs receive worse results? And they do. The algorithms definitely treat fresh new jobs more favorably than older jobs. And we have two examples here of two similar companies. They kind of work together. And the first one's a general warehouse company. In the middle of March, we suggest them, we worked with them, consulted them, and said, let's refresh your jobs. And they worked on it in the middle of June. And you can see the cost per click decreased by about 50%. Their conversion rate increased by about 8%, but they received 90% more applies just because the jobs are fresh. The algorithms on the job boards treat them differently. Job seekers are smart too. They know if the job says this is 22 days old, 30 plus days old, it's an old job. If it says 18 hours old, 3 days old, they're going to look at the job and see that it's something new. The same thing happened here with company two on this slide, an HVAC staffing company. Very similar results. The cost per click went down by nearly 40%. Conversion rate increased by 15%. They had 69% more applies, all because they were keeping their jobs fresh. And it's trying to find that right formula of how often should you refresh your jobs? What does it mean to refresh your jobs? And this example here of two companies shows when they keep their jobs fresh, the algorithms push their jobs out more. The cost per click was lower. The candidates converted better, and they received 70, 80, 90% more applies over the same time period just by refreshing their jobs. So yes, the algorithms treat fresh jobs more favorably. And, this case study backs it up. And I think the three case studies here today kind of showcase our expertise here at Haley Marketing and how we help that recruitment spend, go a little bit farther, eliminate some of the wasted spend. And when it's still really tough to recruit with 10 million open jobs and 5-6 million people looking for jobs. So managing that spend's super important here as we wrap up the programmatic job advertising management portion. And David will help us transition over to candidate automation.
Yeah. And before we go to automation, Matt, one of the things I want to ask you about is, Matt and his team like data. And that's why for today's webinar, everything was going to be presented like a spreadsheet, because that's what they do, is they analyze data. But I know how we do this. And I know that we rely on some great technology. Is this something staffing companies can do the analysis on their own, or do they really need a tool like we use Appcast to dig into the data and then to manage the spend?
They can manage the data. I mean, you can dig into Indeed, dig into ZipRecruiter. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be messy. Unless you have someone that really, really loves data, they're probably not going to enjoy it. Programmatic software is what we use. We work with a company called Appcast, where we license their software, and it centralizes the spend. A lot of companies are on Indeed, in ZipRecruiter, and it all comes into one place and makes it a heck of a lot easier to look at data from a bunch of different places into one centralized place, and to know what to do to automate your spend, to have different strategies for different campaigns, to shut off spend if a job has too many applies, or what to do if a job doesn't have enough applies. So staffing companies can go to, an Appcast and try to license their software. Where Haley Marketing's benefit comes into play is this digs into our mission of really, making world-class marketing, easy and affordable, fast, easy, affordable. And when you work with a programmatic company directly, usually you need a 5-figure budget to gain access to that software. And they need to have somebody who knows how to manage it. At our team, if it's $2,000 a month or more, we can help manage that budget and handle all of that for you, because I don't think there's a lot of recruiters that love to look at data. They love to recruit. They love to talk to people, and they just want the applications to come in and quality applications to come in. And that's where we can help, eliminate that from the day-to-day and really give more time to recruiters to talk to the people who actually want to work with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. That's the thing is, so much of the last 2 years in the staffing industry has been about digital transformation and automation. And a lot of times we're about to pivot here and talk about automation and the way it's used in staffing. But automation on how you run your recruiting function is something that's relatively new in the industry. And, I'm just guessing at the percentage, but I'm almost certain it's less than 10%, more likely less than 5% of the industry is taking advantage of these technologies to get the kind of results that Matt showed today. All right. Well, speaking about automation, when it comes to automation, there's different ways you can automate your staffing business. There's process automation with tools like Sense and Bullhorn Automation that allow you to, as a candidate is going through the process of working with your organization, use automation to enhance, streamline, and standardize that process of working with you, so you're providing a great experience to every candidate every time. And then there's marketing automation, tools like HubSpot and ActiveCampaign. They're out in front of your ATS. And so when somebody's engaging with your website, marketing automation can do a lot to improve the productivity of your sales team, drive people back to your website, keep people better engaged, and keep, as Matt said, keep recruiters focused on the calls and the relationships they need to focus on, and keep salespeople focused on your most active clients and prospects. But Jeff, let's take a look at a Sense automation optimization and what our clients are doing with it.
Yeah. So thanks a lot. Yeah, I think when we work with our staffing firms, and we have some great ones that we are partnering with, we focus on the roadmap that's there. And I think what I love about kind of where I flow in this presentation is, when you kind of look at it from a CRO perspective, it is all the top of the funnel things that are getting a candidate to apply. And we talked about paid, we talked about your website. Now it's kind of, we're going to talk about what I want to focus on is a win that we had with a commercial staffing firm where it was after they apply. And, I think that's kind of the magic and still sort of the missing piece. So in this spot, I want to talk about, the candidate roadmap here is 25 automations that we think every staffing firm should be running. I want to focus on the qualify side. And that's the second of our 5 stages where we've kind of roped all of this together. And it's really focusing on that post-apply. And just a quick background, commercial staffing firm, once somebody applied, they would basically make sure that they applied, the recruiter would get that information. And then if the recruiter was unable to follow up with them, they just ghosted them, then an automation would kick off about, I think it was 6 days after. And so what they were having a problem with is they were still finding ghosts. They were still saying, oh, all these people applied and we don't know what happened to them. So what we actually wanted to look at was how do we create this, automation to human to automation engagement. And so we used a multi-pronged approach. We assisted these recruiters right after they apply. So what we did was we put in a post-apply thank you. It was an automated response that just said thank you to the candidate, thank you for applying, and a recruiter will be reaching out. If they would like to talk right now, definitely talk to us and you can respond and text back. And then the handoff would go to the human. After that, we actually started the process 3 days after they applied with automated emails and texts. And what was nice about that is that strategy allowed the recruiters to focus on those people that were raising their hands and saying, yep, I applied and I'm actually interested. So if we go to the results, what was nice about what we did was we actually increased their first contact rate by 43%. So again, the biggest thing that applicants say, no matter if they're light industrial to accounting to C-level, is I applied and nobody said anything. They didn't acknowledge it. What's going on? Where am I? So because we just had that simple thank you, we were able to increase that contact rate by 43%. And then we also increased their response rate to 12% for those ongoing efforts. So 12 out of every 100, we were at least able to come back in, and maybe they didn't apply to that, or they didn't talk to them about that specific job. They talked to them about a different job. And it was simple automation. The recruiters were saving time by following up, but then we had that great handoff, from that human to the automation. So that one has worked really well for our the staffing firm that we were working with.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
And just for everybody, I've seen that there's a couple of comments in the chat and some questions coming in. We will go through all those questions nearer to the end. So if you have questions, please keep them coming, put them into the Q&A if you would, please. And we will do our best to ensure we answer everything before we wrap up today. All right, so we're going to move on from, we've done digital marketing, we've done recruitment marketing, we've talked about automation. Now we're going to go to another area that we're really proud of our results in this year, branded content. And so branded content is where we are creating content. Sometimes it's uniquely for individual clients. Sometimes it's more of a package that clients are licensing for use in their geographic market. And we're actually going to take a look at 3 different types of branded content. The first of which is a product of ours called Haley Mail. And we're really proud of the constant iterations we've had with this product. This product was originally created as a service back in 2003. The software behind the scenes was developed from 1999 to 2000. The very first version of Haley Mail was launched in the beginning of 2000. And then Haley Mail as more of a content marketing engine is now almost 19 years old. So today where it's evolved to is being able to do branded email communication. So our clients using Haley Mail will every month have new newsletters for their clients and their candidates fully branded to their organization, featuring lots of great content and lots of calls to action. We're trying to drive people not just to read an article, but other reasons to go back to the company's website. And a big part of Haley Mail isn't just email, it is that web content. It's providing these libraries, resource centers full of information for employers, a staffing resource center, and information for job seekers, a candidate resource center. So any one of our clients using Haley Mail, they'll have all of this content, instantly appear on their website. And there are also, you can see the examples, we have ebook libraries, some of them have video libraries, lots and lots of articles around topics of interest to employers and job seekers to help create greater engagement. Again, you're probably tired of us hearing us say CRO, but from a CRO perspective, the more we can keep people on your website and coming back to you as a source of information, not just as a transactional partner to provide a body to fill a job, but as a true hiring partner, a true career partner, the more we can use content to do that, the more people are going to want to work with you, the more return visitors you're going to get. And it's those return visitors who are more likely to apply to jobs and contact you about staffing services. Now, in addition to email newsletters, we use other forms of email communication, some direct response marketing, things like top candidate skill marketing, things like staffing promotions tied to certain times of year, thinking about reasons why an employer might need you, or conversely, hot jobs for candidates or reasons that a candidate might think about looking for a new job. So we'll use different styles of email communication to drive people back to the website, leveraging the ebooks, leveraging landing pages that are included with those ebooks, so that if you're a believer in content marketing to help build your brand, Haley Mail is giving you in one package all of the elements that you need to be really effective. The email, the web content, we even have content to support sales efforts and recruiting efforts that are part of the program. All right, now we're going to then take a look at another example of branded content, which is taking a blog, since many of you are writing blogs, we may be helping you, you may be doing it on your own, and then converting that blog into a newsletter. So Taylor, I'll bring you back here and let's talk a little bit about the impact a blog newsletter can have.
Awesome. Thank you, David. So here's a look at a blogging newsletter we put together for BOS Medical Staffing. They're a healthcare staffing agency in Georgia. And back in June, they felt there was a lack of engagement from their blogging newsletter. So they turned to us for some potential solutions. So our strategy was to start off by working with the client to come up with more engaging blog topics that were niche to their industry and location that more of their client and candidate base would be interested in. By featuring these important and relevant blog topics about what's happening within their state and industry, along with eye-catching subject lines and titles, we were able to increase their engagement and drive traffic back to their website. This strategy, paired with consistent updates to their mailing lists, resulted in an increase in open and click rates for both their client and candidate newsletters in July and August, along with an increase in traffic back to their website directly from the newsletters on the dates that the mailings were sent out.
Yeah, Taylor, one of the things I always like is when we look at Google Analytics and you'll see this, it almost looks like a heartbeat. There's a blip up and a blip up and a blip up. And people are like, why does my marketing have that pattern? And it's like, well, look when you're doing email marketing. And I know a lot of people think, oh, my inbox is filled with emails that I shouldn't be doing any more email marketing. Nobody wants another email. Except from a return on investment perspective, email remains the highest ROI form of marketing there is. And we can always see in analytics that pattern of instant response within minutes of when an email goes out to between that time and about 48 hours later, we'll see the response from the email marketing. The other thing is if you're investing in blogging, you want to be leveraging that blog content in a couple of different ways. You'll leverage it by sharing it on social media, and mostly social media is going to be seen by a combination of people with whom you're connected. And then if you're promoting it or doing other things to expand the reach of that content on social, kind of what our social pro services are all about, helping that content get found by people who don't know you. But email marketing is for the people you already have a relationship with. And so what you want to do is take that blog content and convert it, like BOS has done here, into an engaging format to get more value out of the content that you're already producing and to demonstrate to your audience, hey, we get what matters to you. We care about helping you. And we're here not just to sell you stuff, but we're here to help you. And that's what email marketing in conjunction with blogging is all about. Now we're going to move on and we're going to take a look at one final example from the same company, because in addition to doing blogging and a newsletter, they use another type of branded content, our Insights. And Insights is a combination of web content, much like we saw with Haley Mail, and then a physical printed magazine. And so I've got the pictures on screen here, but I'm actually going to jump out. Let's switch this over and let me just do a new share. We've got that correct. All right, so we're now on BOS Staffing's website. If we go to the HR Insights, you see a bookshelf with all of the past issues of their magazine. This is a digital magazine. There's a corresponding print version that they're sending out. If I click on one of the issues of the magazine, they're getting a fully branded print and digital magazine, lots of valuable content, kind of a fun, engaging format. Here's a letter from their president, Nat Carmack, with just their thoughts on what's going on in the marketplace this month. Lots of good content throughout the magazine. And then when we get to the end, about 20 pages long, even an advertisement right in the back cover. And so they're using this for existing clients to stay top of mind. They're using it for prospecting as a way to create a very different first impression. And they're using it in the sales process when their salespeople know the articles that are in the magazine. And when a client has a challenge, they're able to refer them right back to their website and to any of the back issues of their magazine that they have all of this content available to leverage in their marketing. So this Insights creates a really strong differentiation in how they sell to their clients and how they stay top of mind, because their competitors aren't doing anything like this. All right, let's come back to our presentation. All right, and we're going to go to our last two sections. Kelly's going to actually help us get through all these. We're going to talk about direct marketing, and it's something we haven't really thought that much about in staffing in probably 10 to 12 years, because the demand for staffing services, the demand for talent has been so high that if you sell staffing, I won't say your job is easy because it's never easy, but you haven't had to sell like you did the last time there was a downturn. Most businesses are hiring, and it's more a matter of, hey, if we can provide the talent, we'll get the clients. Well, it's no secret that there's a lot of dark clouds on the economic horizon, and everybody's saying, we are in a recession, we're not in a recession, it's going to be mild, it's going to be terrible, depends on what news source you watch. But the reality is people are feeling a sense of discomfort, uncertainty. It's actually a great opportunity to grow staffing revenues, because when people are uncertain, temporary employment is a great way for people to hire and to test out new services and to expand capacity. But we have to give them a reason to talk to you. And this is where direct marketing can make sales people more productive. So at Haley Marketing, we do two types of campaigns: door openers, which is a sort of like we saw with the starter site, sort of like we saw with Haley Mail. We have existing content that we can customize, but today we're going to look at a custom IDM, or integrated direct marketing campaign, where we start with your business challenge, and then we figure out how to design sales campaigns and materials that are going to be most effective in helping you get the door open and get more meetings with prospects. So Kelly, want to show us an example of that?
Sure. As David mentioned, this is a custom IDM campaign, and IDM is integrated direct marketing. And that means that we are using multiple channels to reach your audience. I believe we already brought up premium transport staffing previously in this webinar, and they were actually looking to go into the Dallas market with their app and wanted to hit client-based customers in Dallas. So we created an integrated touch point. It's mostly weekly touch points consisting of a brochure, landing page, note card, dimensional mailers, and supporting emails. So you see the words dimensional mailer. What that means is we actually concept some ideas. It could be a box, it can be a promo item, it could be a FedEx package. But in this particular case, the whole campaign theme was played off of, it's as easy as ordering pizza to get a truck driver. And they actually had a pizza shaped box customized to their brand with a pizza shaped novelty in the inside of it, messaging wrapped around it, and a card to promote their app. All of that was driving people to a landing page, follows up with note cards and brochures and supporting emails. And you can see where they also used the Texas flag to pinpoint Dallas.
Yeah, Kelly, one of the things I'm going to talk about integrated direct marketing, one of the things when you sell staffing that's always a challenge is, I don't know the best way to reach someone. Some people will answer the phone. Some people will respond to an email. Some people will respond to a LinkedIn in-mail outreach. Some people may respond to a connection request. But there's no one form of selling, no one form of marketing that works for everybody. And integrated direct marketing, as Kelly said, is about integrating different channels of communication in a structured process to maximize the probability of getting somebody on the phone, getting an appointment. And typically we see that IDM campaigns will increase the productivity of a salesperson from 2 to 4 times what they normally would get if they were making cold calls. The average response to cold calling is less than 2.5%. To IDM campaigns, we typically see in the 10 to 15% range. I think our record all time was about a 60% response to an integrated direct marketing campaign. One of the things Kelly also said is packages and FedEx. You're thinking about capturing attention. You want to do something when you're doing integrated direct marketing that the prospect can't miss. Go ahead, Kelly. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, so you've already mentioned that you haven't had to think about selling in the past 10 to 12 years, but direct mail, particularly in the past 2 years, has taken a hit, if you think about it. And I really think that going this route and using mail, direct mail in these pieces gains more attention now because people aren't used to getting it from the pandemic.
Yeah, and actually I was reading the agenda for an upcoming marketing conference, and they were touting like direct mail as the next big thing. We're like, it's like the forever old ago big thing, but everything old becomes new again. All right, let's wrap things up here with just to talk about some creative services and some of our favorite projects on things like logo design, corporate identity, collateral materials. I don't think we have any pictures of trade show displays, but I know we always like designing them.
We don't. I have some great designs if you want me to pull them up, but we didn't do it. We thought we'd be running long here. So with the creative services, we actually have SEM, an ebook brochure that was designed. They're an onboarding partner, and this is a standalone piece to explain how their tech helps staffing companies. And it's a great look. We've only got the covers to show you. We can send out if anybody wants examples. The next example, All's Well, is actually a candidate recruiting piece, and we don't do as many of these as we do client-facing pieces when it comes to collateral. But the inside of this particular booklet really focused on their culture and recruiting people to work for them. Had a lot of nice icons, and you see a little bit of that on the cover here.
And
And
Kelly,
then-
before we move on, I just want to go back to Matt's section when we talked about recruitment marketing and employment branding. And so often in staffing, we're thinking about how we want to be seen as a great staffing company, but we're not clearly defining what that employment brand means to the job seeker. And I love that All's Well here actually was going to the lengths of, we're going to create collateral materials to explain what we're all about, because ultimately these candidates, we may be placing them with another company, but they're our employees and they need to feel like part of our organization.
And in healthcare, that's a particularly important thing, is to connect with your candidates and your employees. And then we have a couple logo projects that we've done over the past year. These are just, again, samples of what we've done. Norman Staffing and Collaborative were both companies who had outdated logos. We did some new designs to freshen them up. And then one of my particular favorites was Best Staff, because in particular, this was a challenge. They came to us and said, this is the way our company's spelled. We're spelling the name of our company, but it is Best Staff, and our logo has to represent both those words. And I think that the designer did a brilliant job by separating it with the color in the A. We also see in particularly staffing companies a lot of people in logo designs, and both Collaborative and the A, or Best Staff, the A and Best Staff, use those icons in really unique ways.
Yeah, and it's funny, Kelly, I remember the internal discussion, because when we saw the Best Staff name, everybody said it's B Staff.
Yeah.
And I love that the designer figured out by making best standalone as a word, it forced you to mentally think through the correct pronunciation of the name. Really clever design.
I said that was a challenge that was brought to us, and I think they knocked it out of the park with this particular design. It looks great.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. And don't anybody jump off, because we do have some time for Q&A. I see we have several questions that are in, but if you have questions, go to the Q&A box, type in your Q&A. While those are coming in, I'm going to make everybody an offer before you leave, which is, if you haven't already taken advantage of our CRO site reviews, a 30-point review of your website, and you'd like us to take a look, go to haleymarketing.com/website review. And our team will be more than happy to take a look at your site. And we're going to look at 30 different questions to see what's working and where there are opportunities for improvement to help you drive more response. All right, we've got a couple of other things that are end slides that I'll save them, so don't go away yet, but let's take a look at a couple of the questions that have come in. All right, well, here's a direct question. What's the range for a cost of a new website? And the answer, David, is it really can vary greatly. We mentioned value sites, starter sites, custom sites. They can be as little as $2,500 at the value site end. A very elaborate custom site could be $25,000 or $30,000. I think that's the biggest one we've done. I actually met someone, not in staffing, but in the HR space. We did not do her website. She just spent $200,000 on a website. I almost fell off my chair. For us, our average client is typically in the $5,000 to $10,000 range. Sometimes elaborate sites will have more bells and whistles. They may be in the 10 to 15. It's kind of rare, unless it's a bigger custom site, that we're north of that. All right, next question is about PPC. What's a typical Google Ads budget to start and test PPC to see if it's a good fit? Erin, you want to give some ideas there?
Yeah, sure, David. So every market's a little bit different, but in most cases, we can run a good test on a $500 ad spend budget with our web traffic solution product. We can target specific people using a list in both Facebook or Google, but I really encourage you to reach out to our team so that we can discuss your specific goals and needs.
Yeah, and I will say very humbly, at one point I thought I really understood PPC till I talked to our PPC team. We are a Google partner for paid per click advertising. It's a designation that's been earned by our team getting accredited from Google and the amount of ad spend we manage. So we have a lot of experience. And when I said I didn't really know what to understand is based on your goals, they will make very appropriate recommendations as to where to test, how to test, and then if things are not working, how to shift. If things are working, how to scale. All right, Jeff, the next question is for you. This is
Awesome.
an interesting one. Does Bullhorn recommend Sense over Herefish for candidate contact automation? What's the difference between the two?
Well, Bullhorn owns Herefish, which is now Bullhorn Automation. So my guess would be the company leadership team would probably recommend Bullhorn Automation over Sense. At the end of the day, it's the candidate or the staffing firm wins. So if you can use Bullhorn and Sense together, Bullhorn can obviously work with Bullhorn Automation. It's really what you're familiar with. But I would imagine Bullhorn is going to recommend that. Differences, I mean, there's a lot. I'm actually doing a LinkedIn Live in about 2 weeks, Wednesday, November 2nd, where I actually go through this because I've had a lot of questions around the differences. And there's all sorts of things to consider that would take up an extra hour of the time here. So I'm not going to do that, but tune in to the LinkedIn Live or email me and I'm happy to have a conversation and kind of go through it with you, whoever the anonymous attendee is.
So Jeff, what's the best way someone can find your LinkedIn Live?
So you could just go to linkedin.com/Jeffrey Stats. So that's my name, and then the event is up there, and you can search for Sense or Bullhorn Automation as a LinkedIn event.
Okay, great. Next question, and Jeff, this one's probably going to come to you and me. Roughly, what do you recommend for a marketing budget? So this would be for a website review and update to improve the social media presence, nationwide marketing of healthcare jobs. Deborah, I'll start. Jeff, feel free to build on this. I'm going to give you two answers. On average, in the staffing industry, companies spend 0.4% of sales on marketing. You want to be an average company, spend the average amount. However, I'm not a big fan of setting a budget and saying spend the budget. I'm a big fan of saying, what do we need to do? What's the business strategy? What marketing support is needed to help your salespeople and recruiters succeed? Then you can cost it out. And almost everything you're doing, a website, social media, there's a low-end budget, there's a very high-end budget, there's an in-the-middle budget. The right marketing partner is going to work with you to figure out where do you want to be based on your goals, what would you recommend, and where do you start? And then when you look at and you add up all the pieces, let's say in total, everything you recommended, and I'm going to just make up a number, was $50,000 for a year. Might be less, might be more. But let's say you hit that. Then I would say, what expected return would I need to justify a $50,000 investment? If I got $50,000 in sales back, that's not enough because that wouldn't even pay your cost when you got to your gross margin. If I made 50,000 in gross margin, 1-to-1, that might be sufficient. Or maybe I need 2 or 3 times. But Deborah, I would think about what kind of return do I want and what do I have to spend to do it right? Jeff, anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I think that's right. I think when I was on the staffing side, we spent around, I think it was about 1.5% of sales on marketing, but that included also job advertising. So we had a couple things. So it's all about what's lumped in. She's a nationwide marketing of healthcare jobs. That if you're nationwide, you're going to probably need to spend more. But also, yeah, to your point, really justify what your return is and try to get down to those numbers.
Okay. Hey, Matt, you got a couple of questions coming your way now. I saw that Indeed is moving to pay per application rather than pay per click. How will this come into play with programmatic?
Yeah, it's a good question, Chrissy. Indeed really pushed that out last week at FutureWorks, one of their big conferences for the year. And honestly, with programmatic job advertising, I don't think it's going to change much because it's really a metric we look at now. Our team here will be like, oh, why is the cost per application going up for, company A, or why is it going down for company B? You might be able to, we can probably bid to try to get to that number. But honestly, it's similar to what Aaron was talking about with the budget for pay per click. The variables between nursing jobs in New York City versus a manufacturing job in the Pacific Northwest, it's going to be so different. You're going to start to learn what that cost per application should be for your market, and then you optimize to that. So we're kind of doing that already is my answer, Chrissy, in terms of how we're managing that from a programmatic sense.
And related, Matt, there's another question. If I spend $10,000 a month on Indeed, can I improve my cost per app with programmatic?
I sure hope so. That's the goal. Honestly, what we do when we evaluate new prospects is look at their performance reports from Indeed or ZipRecruiter and see what's going on. And, our team will look at them, and sometimes, yes, it can be improved. Sometimes it's okay. And sometimes you're doing all right already. So really it's about digging into that data, seeing if there's wasted spend in there, and hopefully we can improve. The results we've seen has been 17% lower cost per click in the first 3 months and 33% in the first 6 months. So that's our goals, is what we're trying to reach to just help you, Timothy, reduce that cost per application, or really just spend it more efficiently to help you meet your business goals.
All right. And then we had a comment and a question to wrap it up. Mark, thank you for the confirmation. Can confirm regarding email newsletters. We've had 5 candidate placements this year that came in via our monthly newsletter. So that is way more than going to offset the cost of producing a newsletter to get 5 placements. So I appreciate the confirmation that blog newsletters and products like Haley Mail work. And speaking of Haley Mail, that's our final question. Is Haley Mail customized to the client, or is it canned? Well, we offer 2 variations. One is almost completely canned out of the box. It's branded to the client with colors and logo, but we don't change any of the content. Then we have a higher level version where we can add in some of the client specific content. The majority of Haley Mail content is not custom written for each client. It's licensed for use in a geographic market. So Kristen, as a healthcare staffing company, we might start looking more at a blog and a newsletter, or we might look at one of the Haley Mail themes and supplementing with blog content to make it more personalized to your business and your specialty. But there's different ways we could manage that. We could also take a blog newsletter and add some of the components like the resource center or those seasonal and promotional emails, we call them instant mail, to enhance what we're doing with a blog newsletter. All right, everybody, thank you so much for all of the feedback. Just to wrap things up, we have one other thing I want to give to everybody. If you were able to, or even not able to, attend our Smart Ideas Summit back in August, we had 14 amazing short format, like 20-minute each presentations by some really smart people in the staffing industry. And all of the recordings are now available for you to listen to on demand. You can go to haleymarketing.com/smart ideas 2. You can read about all the presentations, all 14, and watch any of them on demand. And last but not least, next week is Staffing World. So we have 7 people heading off to Las Vegas to be part of the industry's biggest event. And we will be taking a lot of notes from all the sessions we attend and doing our best to bring that back on Thursday, November the 17th for our next Lunch with Haley webinar. We'll recap our lessons learned from Staffing World 2022. All right, guys, from everybody at Haley Marketing, thank you so much for being part of today's Lunch with Haley event.